League held its first race of the season today, and tragedy struck before they dropped the flag. During warm-ups, Ed Carpenter spun and hit the wall. As his car came to a stop down low, Paul Dana, coming up behind, slams into him at about 175 miles an hour. Dana died today in the hospital after a two-car crash during the warm-up at Miami's Homestead Speedway. It was a season opener for IRL, and this would have been Dana's first race for the Ray Hall Letterman racing team. After the crash, teammate Danica Patrick pulled out of the race. The race was eventually won by Dan Weldon. Dana was a former motorsports journalist who competed in 3 races last year. He was 30 years old.
Prove to everyone that I can do the job. Sunday, Dana was killed in a warm-up session hours before the green flag drop of the IndyCar season. Moments into the 30-minute practice Sunday morning, just hours before the actual race, Ed Carpenter, stepson of IRL founder Tony George, crashed in turn 2, spun down the racetrack. Yellow lights came on, alerting all drivers to slow down. As you saw, Paul Dana's car, for some reason, did not. It slammed into Carpenter at almost 200 miles per hour. Dana's car almost sheared in half. Both drivers, Carpenter and Dana, were flown to a local Miami hospital where Dana was later pronounced dead. Team co-owner Bobby Rahal said that Paul Dana's spotter did warn Dana about the wreck on the track and the in-car radio, but they had no explanation for why Dana did not slow down.
And on behalf of all of our team, David, our sponsors and associates, our prayers and sympathies certainly go out to Paul, his wife Tanya, and the whole Dana family. This is a great tragedy. As a result, and in honor of him, we will not be competing with cars 15 and 16 today.
The 15 and 16 cars belong to Buddy Rice and Danica Patrick. You just saw Danica leaving the trailer. From the other co-owner, David Letterman, quote, "Paul Dana's passing is a terrible tragedy, and I want to express my condolences and sympathies to his family and friends. I did not know Paul personally, but we were all proud to have him on our team and are deeply saddened by his tragic passing at such a young age." For more on the life of the man who drove the number 17 car, Paul Dana, here's Brent Musburger, who hosted ABC's race coverage on Sunday.
This was to be such a special day for Paul Dana. This, you see, was going to be his first start for Ray Hall Letterman, and just his 4th IndyCar Series start ever. The young man had graduated from Northwestern in 1996 with a degree in journalism, and for a time, Paul Dana was a motorsports journalist. He worked his way up the racing ladder as a mechanic, private racing coach, and driving instructor. He drove in a number of racing series during his career, including the IRL. In 2004, he finished 2nd overall in the Infinity Pro Series and won a race at Milwaukee. Dana was born in St. Louis and lived in Indianapolis with his lovely wife, Tanya. Paul Dana was just 30 years old, and our condolences tonight go out to the entire family.
Race car driving, the only sport where every day you go to work, there is a different inherent reality that your family could get the knock on the door or the phone call, or worse, see it unfold in front of them. Just ask the loved ones of Tony Renna, Dale Earnhardt, and Ayrton Senna, the last drivers in IRL, NASCAR, and Formula One to die in a crash on the track. As Marlo Klein reports, Sunday's tragedy forced every driver to face that reality again.
A moment of silence for Paul Dana replaced the normal pageantry that usually accompanies the first race of the season. Just 4 hours after Dana was killed in a final practice crash, the green flag flew with several drivers carrying stickers honoring the fallen racer. While Dana's Ray Hall Letterman teammates Danica Patrick and Buddy Rice were not there, the 16 other drivers started the race, many with heavy hearts.
He pursued a dream that for a guy that didn't race a lot and arrived when he arrived, it was a big accomplishment. So I would say that his dream was fulfilled.
As close as this community is with the fans that we had here today, we were able to pull through some very difficult circumstances, and you know, I just did my job as a driver.
It's the 3rd time in Indy Racing League history that a driver has died on the track. The difference between Dana's fatal crash and Scott Brayton's in 1996 and Tony Renna's in 2003 is that Dana died on race day, forcing the league to make the decision to continue the event on schedule.
we're in a sport where you go 200 miles an hour and people make mistakes and bad things happen, and you just have to kind of continue on. And I mean, I don't know what I would want somebody to do if it was me, but I don't know. I know they're going to go race someday, so they might as well go as soon as possible.
It's hard, it's same time you lose a friend, and same time you're here already ready to go. So it's a mixed feeling. I do believe we did the right thing.
There was a regularly scheduled drivers' meeting that took place after Dana was killed on Sunday. Not one driver questioned the decision of whether or not to race. Tony Kanaan said after the race on Sunday, "We know that motorsports are dangerous. It's always been. Many drivers have been killed and many others have been injured. It's always been dangerous. It always will be dangerous. And that's what makes us unique." In Homestead, Marlo Klain, ESPN.
Indy cars are built to go 200 miles per hour. People are not, so it is truly remarkable that Ed Carpenter didn't even break a bone in the crash. He is at the hospital, alert, awake, and awfully lucky. The danger in practicing even more pronounced in actual racing. Still, the field for the Toyota Indy 300, as you heard, turned over its engines, prepared for the green flag. Paul Dana, remembered by the different IndyCar teams, by his fellow racers, certainly. Some cars draped in black, drivers and crews with a moment of silence, paying tribute to the 17 car and Paul Dana. Prior to the race, Roger Penske put the numerals on his race cars. Once they started here, you see 13 laps to go. Helio Castroneves, Dan Weldon battling for the lead, inches apart. They stay clean, they stay dent-free. Remarkable racing stuff at those speeds. Final lap, Weldon still right behind Castroneves, battling for the lead again as they head to the backstretch. Last year's series champ, first race for Chip Ganassi, working it hard.
Here we go, down the backstretch, Weldon on the high side by side, through three. Who's going to win it? Coming to the home stretch. Castroneves on the inside, Weldon on the outside, at the stripe, it is Weldon!
It is Weldon as Cruz celebrates. You go on board with him as they go through. The tires almost touch again. Really remarkable stuff. You check out the freeze frame. That's a couple of feet at best. 0.0147 seconds the difference. The game of inches. Weldon, well done, but not the usual post-victory joy.
It's a job that can be pretty vicious at times, and they can also have very many highs. But I want to say for everybody, the fans, that our thoughts and prayers are with the Dana family and everybody at Rahal Letterman. But I got to say to the fans as well, I think they're a big part of every driver pulling through difficult circumstances.
Weldon wins the first race of the season for the second straight year, his 10th career IndyCar Series win. Since it started competing at the Homestead Miami Speedway back in 2001, the winners of the Toyota Indy 300 has won the IndyCar Series championship for the previous 5 years. That, of course, includes Weldon a year ago. The ABC race crew, led by Marty Reed, on why Weldon even had to race on Sunday.
Well, the somber day that began at Homestead Miami Speedway with the tragic death of 30-year-old rookie Paul Dana brings up several issues. One, should we have even raced? I mean, there were drivers in the drivers' meeting, you saw them, that really were not wanting to go out there.
I think we heard it from Danny Weldon. I think this race went on today with heavy hearts with the drivers and with the crew and obviously with the officials. And I think when you look at it overall, they know that they have a job to go out and do. And I think Paul Dana would have wanted this race to go on. He was a racer at heart. He loved racing. And it was a great show for the fans. And I think in remembrance of Paul Dana, as Danny Weldon said, this was a great day for the fans, but overall, we have to get out there and do our job. I think about it also, and it's a tragic reminder of just how dangerous this business is. And we all know that when we sit inside the cockpit, we put our life on the line.
Let's talk about one other issue. Sunday morning warm-up. It's 30 minutes. These guys have been on the track all weekend. What are your thoughts?
Well, Brian Barnhart and myself talked this afternoon, or I guess it was yesterday we talked, and I asked that very question. I said, Brian, you've been practicing on Friday, you've been practicing on Saturday, you've got all this practice. It seems to me a little, edgy to go out there on a Sunday, race morning, and bring all these guys out for another 30-minute warm-up. He said, Rusty, I hear you loud and clear. We've thought about that because it's been tradition. It's been in the past we used to change engines. You guys wanted to go out and shake them down and get a good feel about the cars. There's a lot of things they wanted to feel out, but that right now with the way the engine package is and the way these guys have get so much practice, I don't think we need these Sunday morning practices anymore. And I got to tell you, I didn't have this in my mind at all when we made the suggestion the other day that this tragedy was going to happen. But I think now they need to look back and say, I really don't think we need those Sunday practices.
Well, that's the story from here. Our next stop is St. Petersburg next Sunday. We'll see you then. Back to you.